In this country that I live in, 85 fucking percent of the people that are locked away in prison are there because of drugs. There is also, it's twice as likely for people with opioid addiction to commit suicide or have overdoses after they get out. I wonder why, especially if they were there on a felony, because it's a felony to have opioids, right? Now they can't vote in their country anymore either. Just saying. It's pretty fucked up. I haven't done a damn thing. Not a damn thing. I have one speeding ticket my entire life. But I work with a lot of those people and I'm around a lot of those people on a regular basis. And you know what? I did enjoy some of it this winter. Not when I was in a rough emotional state, because you know what? That's when you find addiction. Hi, beautiful. But there's an alert on me for some reason. Who the fuck knows why? They have my fucking phone tapped, which I verified over a month and a half ago. I sent myself a whole bunch of messages, and then the last one, I waited to send it until I left my house because I knew they were going to be fucking coming the moment I sent it. And sure enough, before I even got to the end of the street, 3 cops pull up. And they tell me that somebody called them and told them that somebody was out here shooting a gun, and it had to do with the girl walking her dogs down the street. Excuse me? I wasn't even outside when you were supposedly called, or you wouldn't have got here that quick. Second off, there was no gun fired out here. Third off, I knew you were going to show up the moment I sent those fucking messages. Bullshit. Tomorrow, I'm going to go down to the phone company and see if I can find out if somebody has a tap on my phone, because my boyfriend has tried to call me 3 times today with the phone calls that he paid to have so that he wasn't calling collect, and he can't get through because it disconnects before we even get to talk every time, and I'm pretty sure it's because somebody's listening in. And there's not allowed to be any third party or 3-way calling or anything like that. So I'm assuming they're counting tapped phones as 3-way calling. He's one of the most amazing men I've ever met. And has treated me better than most of the fucking people on this planet. And he might end up in prison for 3 years because he doesn't have money. And that's what it amounts to. Because if he had money, he'd be able to buy his fucking way out. Like everybody else with money does. But since he doesn't have money, he gets the public defender, and he gets the shaft, and he gets the sit in prison. Sit in prison. For having an addiction because of the pain, trauma, and abuse he's gone through in his fucking life. Nice way to show you care, country. Exactly. This is a very important subject for me. A very important subject for me. Because almost everybody I've known in my life has been an addict or an alcoholic. And guess what? Those have been the kindest people. Sadly, you would think it's the sober ones, but no. It's not the fucking church people sitting in their fucking little fancy suits down at their fucking church looking down on everybody that's out here helping anybody. The people who have helped me since I've been out here, the kindest ones there've been, the alcoholics and the drug addicts, or the ex-alcoholics and the ex-drug addicts. It hasn't been any of the ones who think they're better than everybody. But in their stupid fucking book, it says those without sin cast the first fucking stone. Not to mention Jesus. Where was Jesus? Jesus wasn't sitting in the churches with the Pharisees. He condemned those places. And he didn't like their attitudes or the way that they segregated things and drove people towards fear and greed instead of loving each other. No, he was a fucking gypsy going from town to town, living off the kindness of people as a homeless person. And blessing and healing the people who accepted him into their house and showed him kindness. And the ones who closed the doors on him, those who closed the doors on me, on the least of me, closed the door on me. What if God was one of us? What if God was one of us? Just a stranger on a bus, just trying to make his way home. And you just slammed the fucking door on him. because he was dirty and hungry. And he might have mental illnesses. So do you. Most people do. How many people on this planet can say they don't? Everybody has their own crap. And they all handle it differently. Some handle it with medicine from a pharmacy, which is just as bad a lot of times as the street drugs are. Just saying. Some handle it in more natural ways, with crystals and weed. Or, Reiki. It's amazing how much Reiki and crystals and nature can do for you. Because I used to be somebody who was in pain head to fucking foot every day of my fucking life. It got to the point where my hands were locking up and I couldn't move them. My hips were going out all the time when I was 20. My knees too. My back too. They don't go out anymore. My hands don't lock up anymore. The only problem I still have is that my hands are freezing and they don't have much circulation. But that's because I smoke cigarettes. That's my own fault. But that's an addiction too. I don't have a tendency to look down on people for having an addiction. And it really sucks that we just lock them away for a few years, but only when they're poor. Back to when they closed their door on him. He prayed for them. And he washed his hands of the situation because he knew that they didn't know any better. They learned because the higher-ups in the spiritual realm made damn certain they learned. But he went on to the next family. And if the next family opened their door and showed him kindness, he brought them blessings, abundance, healing. I was talking to a Christian in town one day at the bar. She hadn't drank in 7 years, I think, and she was breaking her sobriety that night. And I was like, well, you know what? The best way to know if you actually healed what was wrong with you that caused the addiction in the first place is to try it again. And if you can go home the next day and not have to have another one, then you're doing good. By the way, she's been drinking a lot since then. She was really upset that I wasn't Christian and was trying to force me to believe what she had to say. And I was like, you know what? I'm not evil just because I believe in a different way. And where was Jesus? He wasn't sitting in your church. He wasn't sitting in the recovery center. He was out there with those people, talking to them, leading them, healing them, loving them, caring about them, not turning his fucking cheek on them and locking them up in prison. I live in a tiny little Christian community with 20 fucking churches in this stupid fucking town. Not one of those churches are out there helping any of those people. And in fact, there's been no food in any of the fucking blessings boxes recently. There's been no food in the recovery center recently, except for there was bread this last time. I still eat. The only place I'm allowed to stay in this entire fucking town that the cops aren't harassing me every 2 seconds is in front of a pedophile's house. Only place that they don't harass me. My kids can't stay here. I don't let them. They would like to, I don't let them. Because I don't want them near that. It says in their little book that the prophets are the fucking homeless people. The drifters. They have a lot of wisdom if people give them a second look rather than looking at the fucking cover of the damn book and deciding they're not worth their time. Or they're disgusting creatures. Or they're evil and should be feared. I've been homeless for 3 fucking years, guys. 3 years. Do I look like something to be afraid of? The kindest fucking people out here are the homeless people. They share everything they fucking got. And I share right back with them. Because we all know what it's like not to have anything. I've known what it was like not to have anything since I was a fucking child. Which is why I never gave a flying fuck what a homeless person spent the money I gave them on. I didn't give a shit. You want to spend it on your alcohol so you're not shaking with DTs tonight? Go for it. I'll help. That's what you need right now. I don't care if that's what you're spending it on. I hope you eat too, so maybe I'll give you a sandwich with it. They've all just given up the fight because the system has fucked them over one too many damn times. There is no help. I was the best damn stay-at-home fucking mom and wife in the fucking world. And I'm treated as a fucking criminal. I've had one speeding ticket in my fucking life, and the cops have been harassing me for 3 fucking years. 3 years of this shit. They have my fucking phone tapped, so I can't even fucking talk to my boyfriend that is in jail. Yeah, he is in jail. But that doesn't matter. Everything is temporary, and I'm not worried about whether or not it'll pass. I'm worried about this message getting out. Emotional or not. And the best time to do it is when I'm emotional. Because I'm going to say what I fucking mean. I am very emotional about it. I am very passionate about it. Because there's some good damn people out here that are getting stepped on by people every day. And if they had money, they wouldn't be in that position. They'd be able to buy their way out of everything. Because that's how this country works. Fucking pay an official. Wonder why the cops have been harassing me for 3 fucking years. My ex-brother-in-law used to be a sheriff here. Wonder if that has something to do with it. Oh, my ex-pastor, before I decided I wasn't Christian, is also a sheriff here, which really seems like a conflict of interest to me. I don't know, does that seem like it's somehow not the right profession for a pastor to anybody else? Because it does to me. How are you supposed to be a sheriff and a pastor? That's some weird shit. Thank you guys. I really, really appreciate your support and your love. I really do. I didn't mean to sound like I didn't a minute ago. That's not what I meant by that. I will be better tomorrow. I'll be better fucking 10 minutes after I get off here, honestly. Are what cards from Walmart? Oh, my tarot cards? No. Most of them I've gotten off of Amazon. Honestly, I shop at Walmart as little as I can. You want to know why? Because Walmart is the company that pays 10 cents an hour to people in other countries to make their fucking products and then forces them to spend 3/4 of their monthly earnings on a cracker box of a fucking room that doesn't have a kitchen, doesn't have a bathroom, doesn't have anything. Whether they use it or not, they still have to pay for it, even if they choose to sleep somewhere else. So yeah, I prefer to shop at other stores a lot of times. We do all need release. But honestly, it's not just about the release. It's about being brave enough to get on here and fucking say this shit and not worry about whether or not they're going to show up at my fucking house and take me to fucking jail for it. Fucking come do it, assholes. As I've told him before, I'm a single fucking mother. Sleeping in my RV in this town so that I can be near my fucking kids and get on my feet while I'm doing it. Get out of here, you little turd. My kitten is up here getting into the bag of cat food I just got. Which is funny because he has food in his bowl. And he's up here ripping this bag open to eat it. What a little brat. He reminds me of Jeremiah. I've been telling him that since we got him. Are you talking about sending them to me? Is that what you're meaning? Or I'm not sure. I do have an Amazon wish list where my address is already all in there and shit like that if you wanted to be able to. And there's a bunch of tarot decks in there. I did have the original Rider-Waite one. It was shiny though. It was like the shiny version at one point. I don't resonate with that one quite as much. Honestly, that newer deck I got, I really, really, really enjoy that deck. And I actually hadn't been able to find it in a couple weeks, but I found it last night. So it'll probably be in the next couple readings. I really like that new deck. It's the, somebody bought it off my Amazon wish list. Yoshituna? Yoshitani. Inspired by deities, folklore, and fairy tales from around the world. Tarot of the Divine. A deck and guidebook. There is some amazingly beautiful artwork in that one. I love all my cards, honestly. They're all awesome. I just really needed to be able to get that out. Because I find it to be completely ridiculous that 85% of our prison populations in this country are there because of drugs. Are there because of the abuse, trauma, and pain they went through, that they didn't have any resources to help them heal from. Kind of like the fucking crap I went through after I was molested. I was supposed to get to go to counseling. I went to 2 sessions, and then they decided that, well, I wasn't going to talk to the counselor anyway, so there's no reason for the state of Nevada to pay for it. 2 sessions with some strange fucking woman in her business suit in her perfect little fucking office who looks like she's never had a problem in her fucking life. Or at least that's what she looked like to 12-and-a-half-year-old me. 2 sessions of therapy is what I was offered from Victim Services. And then a few years later, because my mom wasn't offered therapy for what she went through, we went to foster care. While we were in foster care, there was abuse taking place in the fucking house. And I called to report it. When I called to report it, they told me they'd have somebody come and check it out and remove us from the house the next day. The next day, they showed up to take me out of there and put me in pretty much a prison for teenagers, for teenage girls. It was a group home for the bad kids, for the ones that are causing problems. Because my foster parents were defending themselves against the abuse allegation. Shouldn't believe anybody when they're defending themselves in that way. They told them that I was sneaking out of the house every night, sleeping around with a bunch of guys, doing a bunch of drugs, and drinking and passing out. Except I never fucking once left that house at night. I was too busy taking care of my brother and sister, like I had been doing for years. I hadn't even had a drink of anything in over a year. I hadn't slept with a guy in over a year. And even when I did drink anything, I never got pass out drunk because I didn't want to be that out of control or not to be able to defend myself because of what had happened to me. I wanted to be lucid. So, after I was removed from that house, their son came back. And my little brother spent the next year almost of his life being beaten on by their son and choked until he passed out. All because they decided that I was a child, and you can't believe a child anyway. Especially one that looks like that. We're going to believe the foster parents who are defending themselves against abuse allegations instead, who never mentioned anything about this until abuse allegations were presented to them. Exactly right. Well, and in Nevada, they don't have enough foster families. They really don't check any of them out. They really don't give a flying fuck. When I was in that group home, we were supposed to have a weekly group session for all of the girls there so that we could all get along. Because there's 13 teenage girls living in the same area. We all lived in the basement while her and her family lived on the top floor. And then we had the common area in between. She was pretty much doing it just for the fucking money. I asked her for 3 days running why I was in that house, why they did that to me. When those people pulled up and said they were taking me away, my heart fucking broke. It dropped. It was the hardest thing I ever did to get in that car and leave. To leave my brother and sister there. After taking care of them as long as I did. But I was like, guys, I would fight this, but if I fight this, it's just going to be worse for all of us. There's nothing that we can do. I did what I thought I was supposed to do. I reached out for that help. I told adults the truth about what was going on, like you're supposed to do, and they're supposed to be there to help you, right? But we don't believe children. Children are liars. I asked her for 3 days after that, every day, multiple times a day, why they took me and put me in there. And why they left my brother and sister in that house after what happened. Finally, on the 3rd day, she's like, do you really want to know why you're here? Thank you, beautiful. I didn't deserve any of it, but if I wouldn't have went through every bit of it, I wouldn't be who I am today, and I wouldn't be doing the things that I'm doing. And I wouldn't be getting ready to sue the state of Nevada, because I think that's what I'm going to be doing next. Especially since my little brother has neurological problems, probably from being choked until he passed out many repeated times as a teenager. Thanks to the state of Nevada. A lot of the pain and suffering I've gone through in my adult life is thanks to the state of Nevada, because I learned you can't trust authorities. Of course, I already knew that anyway, because I called DCFS once for the girl across the way because her mom was beating on her. She had black eyes regularly. They never took her out of her house, but my mom has a gambling problem, so they're going to try to keep us for years, right? She wasn't beating on us. She just didn't have a place to fucking live because she didn't have enough fucking money. And because she was going through mental health issues of her own because of the fucking molester she was dating for 3 years. Who broke her down fucking completely and totally from the strong, amazing fucking woman she was to a mess. That was the first man she found that didn't beat her, cheat on her, do drugs, drink, gamble. He was good with his finances. He was stable. He had a nice apartment. He was good to her and her kids. He was perfect. Except for the fact that he was molesting children behind her back. Do you know how fucked up that would probably be to stand in her shoes in that situation? She was in denial for a long time. She thought that I lied because I was just a liar. I was the scapegoat of our family for fucking ever. My mom thought I was the worst fucking child she had all the way up until I left there. When I left at 26 and went back there the next year, she apologized. The only apology I've ever heard from my mom in my life. She's a Leo and she's got a lot of pride. She told me, I am so sorry for thinking that you were my worst child your entire life, because you were probably my best one. Of course, the years since then, she has probably changed her opinion on that. We don't even talk right at this moment. But it is so hard to try to live this way and try to keep the faith when you got somebody's anxiety and fear-based thinking and lack-based thinking around you every second. I can't have it in my ear. And I can't have her talking about my siblings that way to me either. And I can't listen to her and the way she treats her dog either. Because I don't like it. Well, there's no other way to do it. If you'd shut the fuck up and listen to somebody else for a change, instead of thinking you know it all, there is another way to do it. But you have too damn much pride for that. So, I'm sorry that you and your mom aren't on good terms either. I fucking love my mom. I love my mom so much. And she isn't going to be here much longer. My dad already passed away a couple years ago, and she's well on her way. She has COPD. And here's my cigarette. It is sometimes. It definitely is. It feels like everybody's in the fucking Stone Age. And it's like, how do you not see these things? Like trying to explain to people that beating your children is not the right fucking way to do it. There is so much fucking evidence and research out there. All you got to do is fucking open a book and look at it. All you got to do is look at the results of it. A lot of the people that are living on the streets out here right now, they were beat as children. And they still don't see anything wrong with it. I turned out just fine. Sure you did. You don't think that any of the problems you got going on right now are because of the way you were treated as a child? No, I made those mistakes myself. Yes, you did. But maybe if you had a better upbringing, you would have made less mistakes. I don't know. What do you think? I pray for the same thing, Silver Priestess. Thank you guys for your prayers. Thank you, beautiful. Warm hugs sent to you, too. So finally, after the third day, I realized it's been a little while since I was on that subject. I do that. So, she's like, do you really want to know why they sent you here? And I was like, yeah, that's why I've been asking. So we go up to her little office to talk. And she's like, you were sent here because your foster parents told DCFS that you were sneaking out of the house at night, that you were drinking and passing out and doing a bunch of drugs and sleeping with a bunch of random different guys. And I was like, and they believed that? And she's like, looking at you, I believe it. And I was like, really? I thought we weren't supposed to judge books by a cover. And she's like, well, what would you think when you looked at me? And I was like, looking at you, I would think that you were the sweetest kindergarten teacher on earth. But you're a fucking bitch. Needless to say, I was basically in prison the entire time I was there. Every one of us would go out and have a cigarette, and we'd come back in the house. They would do nothing. They got to the point where they actually literally did nothing to cover the smell up. And she couldn't smell it on them. I was using toothpaste, mouthwash, lotion, perfume. Didn't matter what the fuck I put on me, I still smelled like cigarettes. Even when I didn't even have one, I still smelled like cigarettes. Isn't it crazy? Because I wouldn't kiss her fucking ass. Because I am not built that way. I am not built to kiss people's asses. That's not the way I work. I stand up for what I feel is right, and I stand against what I feel is wrong. And another thing I feel is wrong, we were supposed to have that weekly group session every week. It happened once. The first week I was there, we all sat down for an hour with that therapist. And everybody go around the circle and say something about yourselves that everybody might not know, so we can all introduce ourselves. And everybody's saying their little shallow crap. And it was driving me fucking crazy. Because nobody said anything consequential. Not one damn thing consequential. Oh, my favorite color is orange. Really? That's what you got to say that nobody knows about you. You know what, beautiful? Try to remember the love that is under the hate and the annoyance. I don't know if she's on here watching. At one point, I did find out that she watched my videos. It took her about a year after I made my channel for her to tell me that she watched my videos. And I was like, I didn't know you watched my videos. She didn't even really sound like she supported me. It took her a year after I started to tell me that she watched them, and I don't know if she still watches them. What I do know is after I found out she watches them, I made damn sure to say everything that I needed to say about her on here. So she probably doesn't enjoy watching them anymore. Here in about a month and a half or so, I'm going to be able to get a vehicle that runs. I'm going to take a trip down and I'm going to get my guitar and my amp that are at her apartment that my dad left me when he passed away. Oh, I got to plug this in really quick. I almost forgot. So, and I'm not going to call her and let her know I'm coming. I'm just going to see her when I get there. And who knows what's going to happen, and who knows if I will talk to her again after that. We'll see when it happens. This last year, my ex and my kids on the 4th of July, 4 days before my birthday. And usually he's working on the 4th of July and they are upset because grandma doesn't want to go down to the fairgrounds for it or anything. And so I was like, I got some fireworks, guys. If you wanted to come over and watch the fireworks with me, we can set off some fireworks. It'll be so fun. And they're like, we already got plans, Mom. What I didn't know at the time until I watched my daughter's TikTok channel later, they had went down to see my family without me. They didn't tell me. He didn't tell me. My mom didn't tell me. My brothers and sisters didn't tell me. And when I called my mom on it about 3 weeks later, because I was seeing this guy and he's like, why don't you call your mom and talk to your mom? Because he was doing the same thing to his mom that my kids are doing to me. And I was like, fine, here, I'll show you why. So I call her. And she talks for about 10 minutes straight. Wasn't really getting any words in. I just waited till she was done talking. And then after she was done talking, I was like, so, do you want to tell me why my ex-husband and my kids went down to see you guys and not one of you guys told me about it? You know what, Danielle? We didn't want you there because we didn't want any problems. Oh, so you're back to thinking I'm the problem again. After apologizing when I was 26 years old for thinking that, you're back to thinking I'm the problem again. Apparently, I should not have encouraged you guys to stay friends with my ex and my ex to stay friends with you. Because I didn't want my brother and sister to lose another brother. Because I didn't want my mom to lose another son. Because I didn't want him to lose his family. But I lost his family and my family. He made sure of it. A couple weeks later, we were getting ready to roll a joint. And he pulls out an envelope that I can use to roll it on. And it's addressed to my mom. And he quickly pulls out money and shoves it in his pocket. So I didn't see it, and I pretended like I didn't. He was sending my mom money. So he's now sending you money. And you're now blaming me for everything again. Isn't that weird? It does hurt the most from the closest. And that's why I haven't talked to her a whole lot since then. Although I will say this, there was about 2, maybe 3 weeks ago, there was these people. It's amazing what people who do the mind reading thing sometimes can do, the telepathy thing sometimes can do. Especially when you got so many of them ganging up on you at the same time. There was 3 of them there that night doing it. And there was basically like this whole rape and murder plot thing that they shoved in there. And I got up and walked out of the house. And I went into the other house to go see if I could find my cigarettes, and then I was just going to leave. My mom messaged me at that moment. And she's like, I just called because I was wanting to make sure that you're okay. She knew. 6 hours away, and she knew something was wrong. Hate me or not, I'm still her kid, and she still loves me under that hate. And vice versa. My ex, hate him or not, I can't hate him. He was my best friend for 10 fucking years. The longest friendship I've ever had in my life. Regardless of what's gone on between us, of course I still love him. And of course my kids still love him. And if I hate him or he hates me, they hate each other. And they hate us. But if we love each other, they love each other and they love us. So I've tried with everything in my power to make sure I stay out of the hate energy. Because I don't want them to hate themselves. And they are part of both of us, light and shadow. There are some very good qualities about their dad, and there are some very bad ones. By the way, his birth year is on the screen right now, 76. Year of the dragon. And I'm 88, year of a dragon too. Just a different dragon. You're going to get through this, sweetheart. Exactly, and hate themselves. They will hate themselves if they hate either of us. And I'm not saying I've been perfect the entire time. Because when it first happened, when I first decided to call it quits and end it, I was like, you know what? I know neither one of us wants to be to blame for this. I know neither one of us wants to get a divorce like our parents did. I know neither one of us wants to walk away because we don't want to fucking give up. Exactly. My mom did it to my dad a lot. And my dad, one year, it was the year after Phil went to prison, after my molester went to prison. He was really drunk that summer. And he was saying a bunch of shit about my mom. And I was like, you know what? Thanks. And he's like, what? And I was like, thank you. Because the only fucking ammo I ever have against my mom when she starts saying something bad about you is the fact that you have never once said one bad word about her, and now you ruined it. You ruined it. And he stopped. And he didn't say anything bad anymore. And at the same time, my mom wasn't necessarily trying to say anything bad. She was trying to tell me the truth. And he should have told me the truth too, instead of covering it with sugar. Even though we feel like that as kids, that's not what it is. They're just trying to tell the truth. My mom always told us the truth about everything. She told us the truth about her childhood. She told us the truth about her first marriage. She told us the truth about her second marriage, which was my dad, and why she never married again. Her first husband was a wife beater, was a cop, and was running around sleeping with every woman in town. And then his new crazy wife chased my two older sisters down the street with a fucking gun. And that's when my mom was like, you know what? Either get rid of her or keep your child support and I'll keep my kids. And he's like, well, it wasn't loaded. And she's like, I don't care. He chose to keep her and keep his child support. And she kept the kids and she kept them safe. As safe can be. Anyway, as safe was in our house. With not much supervision. Because it was a single mom with 5 kids. There's not much supervision there. At 6 and 7 years old, my older sisters were throwing house parties in the house. And I was part of them. My one older sister was doing crank pretty steadily, and my other older sister was drunk all the time. The one that was drunk all the time slept with a lot of people. She also had a boyfriend that was a stalker at one point in time, which I've dealt with a lot of that energy the last couple of years. And he dumped sugar in my mom's gas tank and blew the engine on the car that we just got like 3 months before that. We hadn't had a car. I don't even remember when we had a car before that because I was only 5 when that happened. But we hadn't had a car any time that I remembered. We didn't have another car till I was 10. My other sister, I don't even know if she slept with anybody before she got married. That's how discreet she was. And she also dressed in men's clothes and, really didn't show much of an interest in ever dating a male. So right before she got married, actually, my mom, my grandma, and my brother-in-law all told her, it's okay if you're gay. You can tell us if you're gay. We'd still love you. And she's like, I'm not gay, when my mom said it. And my mom's like, okay, geez. And she's like, well, everybody else has already asked me this week. What's funny is my other older sister, after 18 years of marriage, left for a woman. She was gay. She was very feminine, but she was the gay one. That older sister ended up with a man who's very feminine, who enjoys cooking, and who enjoys a lot of womanly things. He also enjoys some man things, but they do a lot of opposite gender roles in that household. Which, I'm kind of similar because I have a tendency to attract bisexual guys and gay guys. Because I'm so masculine. And that way they don't have to admit that they're gay. I don't know. But so that once a week group session thing that was supposed to be going on, it happened that one time. And everybody's going around this circle with their little inconsequential crap. And it got to me. And I was like, you know what? There's no better time than the present. I was 15 years old at this point. Phil had been in prison for 2.5 years. And I sat there and I told them about being molested. And as I looked around that group of girls, I realized that every single girl in that group had gone through the same thing. Every one of them. And every one of them had tears streaming down their face. I'm not somebody who's shallow regularly. I'm very deep, which is why some people find it hard to be around me on an all-the-time basis. Because I'm extremely deep, and I'm always extremely deep. I don't watch many movies. I don't watch much TV. I don't play many games. It's been really hard, but I've really tried to bring out that child that I don't even know over the last few years. It's came out at points. Jeremiah brought out a lot of it. Before everybody started fucking with our energy. But I've spent 16 years studying psychology. From that moment on, I started studying psychology because I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to work with abuse survivors. Because every girl in that house over the next week came to talk to me about what she had gone through. And I wanted to be able to help them more if I had more people come. I had already had people come about other things throughout years before that. At 10 years old, the next door neighbor lady who was 33 was my best friend. How sad is that? That's sad. At 10, my best friend was 33. Because the other friend I had who was 9 was my friend when we were at home, but anytime we went to school, I didn't exist. 44:22 on the clock. And that was because I went from the poor school to the other side of town. And when I got there, there was a group of girls that was whispering behind their hand and pointing at me and laughing at me and talking. And I walked up to them and I was like, if you got something to say to me, why don't you say it to my fucking face? At 10. That's exactly how I said it. And they're like, oh, we weren't even talking about you. And I was like, oh, really? Then why were you looking at me, pointing at me, laughing at me, and whispering behind your hands? You were talking about me. So if you got something to say it or shut the fuck up. I was invisible from that point on at that school. Nobody talked to me. Nobody looked at me. Nobody nothing. Well, okay. I played tag once. Once. I played tag. Freeze tag with everyone. Most of the time I spent recess alone. One day I decided to play freeze tag with everyone. The boy that was chasing me grabbed a hold of my arm and he wouldn't let go of it. And I freaked out. I was being molested at home, so, you know, when he grabbed a hold of my arm and he wouldn't let go of it, I grabbed a hold of his arm and I raked my fingernails back across it. I left deep gashes. 4 deep gashes. It was bleeding. I saw it bleeding before I left. I took off and I ran and I hid in one of the toys till the end of recess. He never did go tell a teacher. Apparently, he knew he did something wrong by not letting go of my arm. Somebody that was a friend who has some pretty severe narcissistic fucking traits going on earlier this year. His name's Kurt. When I first got with Jeremiah, and we were at the bar one night together, and that guy already knew I have no feelings for him in that way whatsoever at all. Some people don't handle rejection well. So Jeremiah had just left, and he was going to go take care of something. And I was like, okay, I'm going to say bye to everybody, and then I'll meet you out back, because he had to go over to the park next door and talk to another guy that lives in his car about something. And so he went to do that, and I went to go say bye to everybody. When I went to go say bye to him, I gave him a hug, and he wouldn't fucking let go of me. And I pulled away from him, and then he's like, what? It's not like I was gonna take you against your will or something. And I was like, you know what? If you were really my friend, you wouldn't have even done that. It is not okay. You know how I feel about you. You know I have absolutely no attraction to you in that way whatsoever, and you've known the entire time I've known you, because I was completely straightforward with you. What you just did, not okay at all. That was back in, September? October? Ran into him last night, and that was the first night I said hi to him since then. And when he walked past the next time, I didn't even acknowledge his presence. I can be cordial. That's all you get from me anymore. You don't deserve anything more. And you're lucky I didn't kick you in the fucking balls right then and there. Because no, that wasn't okay. We were also supposed to, once a month, every girl was supposed to get their own session with her too. We never once got it. She never came back after that time. She's getting paid for it, but she never came back after that time. We were also supposed to get an allowance every month. We were supposed to get $50 a month to be able to purchase anything that we needed. And then we were supposed to get $20 a month. Like, basically like fun money kind of thing. We never once got one dime. The whole time I was there. Not one dime. Wonder where that money went. To the woman who's getting $1,000 per child and has 13 of us there, so she could pay off her giant house and then sell it and move away with her family and never do that again because she wasn't there for anything but the fucking money. And to have everybody kissing her fucking ass all day. And to be able to be a bitch if they weren't. To be on her power trip. I'm pretty sure that's my next move, is I'm going to sue the state of fucking Nevada for damages done to me and my younger brother and my younger sister. For their neglect. For their inaction to do something when a child was being abused. Once my mom got out of the rehab center she was in, and they don't consider gambling an addiction in Nevada, which is funny because you can gamble everywhere there. They don't consider it an addiction, though. So any of the rehabs they have do not serve gambleaholics. They serve alcoholics, they serve drug addicts, but they do not serve gamblers. So she had to tell them she was an alcoholic to get in there anyway. She had to lie about it to get in there so she could get the fuck away from the casinos. for long enough to be able to get right, and also to get a little bit of therapy in there so she could get right. When she got out of there, and the reason we ended up in foster care was because she had blown her check when she was supposed to be getting us an apartment twice, and we were staying with my older sister and her husband and her 4 kids. There was a lot of days that I spent 9 hours alone with 6 kids at 15 years old when she was supposed to be gone for an hour. And she's pissed off that my mom did that to her. You did the same thing to your younger sister, Karina. Sorry, but you did. So maybe you should be less judgmental of your mom. So, her and her husband were having a lot of problems. And she decided to sign us over to the state. Yes, she did. She did exactly the same thing. She was pissed off because my mom had her taking care of her younger siblings. Instead of going to school, instead of doing the things she should be, which she chose to do anyway. Because I made the same choice at 16, to drop out of school, to go to my little sister's field trips, to walk my little brother home from school so he wasn't getting bullied, to be there to make dinner for them and help them with their homework and get them to bed at night. I made that choice. My older sister was forced into it, and I was kind of forced into it at her house too. Her best friend brought her kids over one day, and her sister-in-law too, so I had 4 extra kids with me that day. Oh, the same female officer who's driven by this house today 7 times. 7 fucking times, and I haven't been here most of the day. And she drove by the house I was at earlier today too. Wonder why she's driving by so damn much. So I had what? 10 kids that night. I had 10 kids that night. And her best friend's like, her sister-in-law didn't pay me. She didn't pay me. Her best friend's like, so how much did you want me to pay for you tonight? Or pay you tonight? And I was like, what? I don't know. And she's like, you don't know? Well, how much does Karina pay you? And I was like, she's not paying me. And she's like, she doesn't fucking pay you? Do I need to slap her? And I was like, no. I just figure we're living in her house. And as family, I should be helping out. Or be a slave. So she could escape. Pretty sure that's her there. So, later on, after we got out of foster care and everything like that, her friend used to pay me $100 a night to watch her kids. And she'd fucking get up at 7 or 8 in the morning, and I'm like, are you kidding me? You guys were gone till 2 or 3 in the fucking morning. You should at least sleep in. You gave me $100. What the hell's wrong with you? And she's like, oh, I like to get up and have breakfast with the kids. Okay. And then when they moved out of town, they gave me their truck too. They were pretty fucking awesome people. Really appreciated the people who helped them out. I had another lady that would pay me anywhere between $50 to $100 every time I babysat for her too. Then I babysat for a lot of addicts that would rack up the bill to about $300 till my mom screamed at them and I never saw them or their kids again. But you know what? It wasn't about the money. It was about being with those kids and helping those kids. Because it sucks growing up in that. That's why I made sure my brother and sister did not see even a tenth of what I saw. And at the same time, reality smacked them in the face one day instead. So, after my mom got out of the rehab, she would have me on the weekends for one night. I was allowed to go over there every Friday night at the rehab or at the halfway house. The last time I went over there, My mom was saying that she had the money for an apartment again. This is what, the third or fourth time she's supposed to have the money for the apartment. And she's already put it in a machine 3 other times. And I was like, Mom, I need you. I need you to do it this time. You have to do it this time. Come on. Come on. Because if you don't, I don't know how much more I can take in that house. And I'm not going to be responsible for my actions if I have to go back there again. I said that to my mom once in my life. And I said that to my dad once in my life. And both of them, the time I said that is the time that they finally pulled through. Which is fucking amazing because my babysitter at that group home came to pick me up that night and take me home. And I had a migraine because I had migraines fucking severely bad at that point. It's funny, I only have maybe one a year now because of the Reiki and the crystals and the nature and the getting away from fucking abusive people. So I go back home that night and we're driving to Spring Creek from Elko. Over this hill on this highway. It's about a half hour, 45-minute trip to her house. And it's rush hour. And it's just past sundown. So it's headlight after headlight after headlight. And everybody has their fucking brights on after headlight after headlight. And I'm just getting sicker and sicker and sicker the entire trip back to my house. So we get to the house. And I instantly went downstairs. Danielle, my babysitter, her name was Danielle too. She already knew I had a migraine. So I was like, I'm just going to go in and go straight to bed. And so I get downstairs and I ended up veering over to the bathroom. And I ended up throwing up 10 times before I went to go lay down. And on my way to my bed, the bitch who ran that house comes down there and starts screaming at me. Because she thinks I'm on drugs. Because my mom's a drug addict. And she's going to make damn sure I never go back there again. And I never see my mom again. And I was like, my mom doesn't even fucking do drugs. What the hell is wrong with you? I'm not on drugs. And she's like, well, then what the hell's wrong with you? And I was like, I have a fucking migraine. And I've had them ever since I fucking moved in here. This one's extremely bad because I had headlights and headlights and headlights all the way home. And she's like, well, then why didn't you ask me for some medicine? And I was like, because you'll give me one fucking Tylenol. And what is one Tylenol going to do? Absolutely nothing. So I came down here to go to sleep. And instead I ended up throwing up 10 times first. And now I'm going to sleep because my fucking head hurts. And she's like, well, I'm going to make damn sure you never see your mom again because I'm going to make sure that they know that you were on drugs tonight when you came home. And I was like, I'm going home next week and there's not a damn thing that you can do about it. And she's like, oh, no, you're not. You know what? I am so fucking happy that when I told my mom, I need you this time, Mom. You have to do it. You have to, Mom. Because I can't take it again. That she finally did it. Because when I was walking away from that fucking house, it was so nice, even if I didn't say it out loud, to be able to think, I told you so. And you can't keep me in this fucking prison anymore. Because that's basically what a fucking group home is when you're me anyway. I wasn't even allowed to go outside unless it was right outside the front door. The entire time I was there. Because I didn't kiss her ass. Pretty fucked up. And my sister, sadly, when she signed us over to the state, because she really didn't feel like there was anything else that she could do, she was attacked several times. Her car was keyed. She had letters sent to her in the mail. My uncle, the piece of shit, was pissed off at her. My uncle's the one who, when my molester went to prison, was like, oh, if I would have known, I would have killed him. And then he tried to do the same thing to me. But he looked in my eyes and all of a sudden was stone cold sober and got up and walked out of that room. And he's pissed off at her because she signed us over to the state. Be pissed off at yourself because you were a fucker. So anyway, that is it for my rant tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It probably wasn't the most enjoyable session in the world, but it was a very honest, brutally honest session. One that is needed. One that is authentic. One that is truthful. And one that is me. This is my story. This is who I am. And I don't regret a damn thing that happened. I wouldn't change any of it. Because I wouldn't be here today to talk to everybody else who's been through those things about it too. I hope your experience was better than mine was. Sometimes foster care is good, and sometimes it isn't. There was a couple of the houses that I stayed in while I was doing that were actually decent houses with good people who actually treated me like I was a human instead of the scourge of the earth. Yeah, that's about what it was, Cinderella. We were there to clean her house and cook. Oh, and by the way, there was one time the girls were making fucking French fries on the stove in a pot, and they fucking caught it on fire, and they all ran outside on the porch because that's what you're supposed to do when the house is on fire. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? I ran over there and I grabbed the baking soda out of the cupboard and I dumped it on it to put the fire out. Her and her family are upstairs at that point. And I got in trouble for that. I got in trouble for that. What kind of crazy ass ridiculous shit is that? Because I made a mess. Oh, really? Those guys were going to let your fucking house burn down with you in it. At least I put the fucking fire out. What the hell is wrong with you? What else are you supposed to use on a fucking grease fire? You're supposed to use baking soda. Get over it. There's going to be a mess. Of course there's going to be a mess. Duh. Thank you, ML. May you be blessed as well by the beautiful God and Goddess. Cinderella is about right. That's pretty much what I was the whole time. When I was about 16 years old. No, I was about 18 at this point. No, I was 18 at this point. My mom, I was working 60 to 80 hours a week at this point. And I was pretty much going to work. I was coming home, doing the yard work, and then passing out on the couch while I was eating my food that I brought from work. So I wasn't even eating at home. And she's screaming at me that I need to get the dishes done one night. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I don't even eat in this fucking house. Well, you know what? I do all the cooking and somebody else needs to do the dishes. And I was like, why don't you get one of your other children to do it? Oh, yeah, because they were too little to do anything until they were too big to do it. Guess what? That's not my fucking problem because I've been telling you for years to have them doing something. I don't even eat here. And I pay half the fucking bills. And I cover yours when you spend it in the casino. I buy half the groceries. This is my house too. And I'm not a child anymore. And you don't get to order me around like one either. You want the fucking dishes done? Do them yourself or get them to do them. Because I haven't even eaten here in 2 fucking weeks. Yes, she did reap the glory. Because she held her head high and still continued to believe in the magic and still continued to keep forgiveness and love in her heart, even for the most cruel people in her life. Yes and no. I'm pretty sure that might have been my sister that was up there, guys. Honestly, I have no fucking clue. But I will say this much. Sure sounded like it. Looks like I'm calling out some of the haters that have been trolling me for years, huh? But I already knew that. I already knew she was one of them. She called me on accident the other night. And I was like, what the fuck? My sister's calling me? She hasn't fucking called me since I was 15. It's been 20 fucking years. And you know what? I answered it. Immediately upon answering it, she hung up. She didn't mean to call me. She accidentally called me. And she didn't even stay on the phone to pretend like she actually called me on purpose. I tried staying in contact with them. I tried having sisters. My older sisters fucking hate me. And they hate me because I represent the abusiveness that they were as teenagers. And the shame that they were as teenagers. Which is really fucked up because I loved the fuck out of them. Regardless of what they had going on. I didn't even realize it at the time until my sister told me when I was 21 that her and my older sister, my other older sister, were molested by their stepmother. So I was watching them go through what I went through later before I went through it. And if I wouldn't have watched them go through that, I might have turned out very differently. So in a lot of ways, I have them to thank. Thank you, ML. I've been doing it since I was 15. I just got a nice place to shout from now that's very public. And sometimes it takes a little while to gain the courage, or maybe a substance, to gain the courage to be able to express some of those things without worrying about whether or not they're going to come fucking arrest me for it because the cops in this town are crooked as fuck. And they are. They're crooked as fuck. I'm going to go tomorrow and I'm going to see if I can find out if somebody has my phone tapped. And if it's the authorities in this town, I'm going to go to the FBI. Because I'm really sick of the way that the cops in this town abuse their power. And the way that they pick and choose who they're going to throw in fucking jail. And most of them are teenagers. Oh, that's because they can take them out in the middle of fucking nowhere and blackmail them into sex. I forgot. That's why it's mostly teenagers. Because most of the adults wouldn't put up with that. But I've heard a lot of stories from a lot of people in this town about a lot of the abuses of power of the cops here. So it's not just my story. It's their stories too. And if none of them are going to fucking speak about it and shout it out to the fucking rooftops because they're too scared, somebody's got to take one for the team. Somebody's got to be the lion and protect the lambs. I once was a lamb. Would have been nice to have a lion. But the lion was too busy protecting my younger brother and sister and never protecting me. Because I was the bad child. So, anyway, I am done. I gotta go get some laundry done because my boyfriend's mom is gonna come take me and do some of my laundry, which is fucking phenomenal. She's an amazing woman too. No matter what she does in her personal time. She's not out hurting anybody, and she does her best to try to help as many people as she can when she can. And that's a beautiful thing. Just because somebody's on a substance doesn't make them a bad person. And just because somebody isn't doesn't make them a good one. Remember that. And don't judge those books by those covers. Love you guys, and I will see you next time. I hope you guys have a good night. Bye-bye.